Hey guys, I'm super excited today. Rory Van Vliet, one of the most analytical, technical black belts I know, and we're covering guard retention, which is a topic people have a ton of problems with and everyone wants to be better at. So how do you want to structure this today, Rory?
Hey guys, Rory here, and I have an exciting announcement. I am doing a guard retention instructional with Stephan Kesting. This is pretty crazy because I've been a fan of Stephan Kesting since I first started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2009, there actually wasn't very much for stuff online for instructionals or even in video, or it wasn't as readily accessible. There were still picture-by-picture books, which I don't think that would do well at all anymore to this day, but I had Mastering the Rubber Guard, Mastering Twister, I had the X-Guard book from Marcel Garcia, and unfortunately I was practicing some Southpaw Submissions 101, which really did some bad things to my training, and I had to spend some years unwinding that garbage. But I had also found Stephan Kesting online because he was one of the only people that was doing YouTube at the time, and he also had instructionals. So I have a whole bunch of Stephan Kesting's instructionals right now. I have high percentage leg locks was my first introduction to leg locks back in the day. How to defeat the bigger, stronger opponent. Dynamic half guard, this one was awesome, especially back in the day. This is exactly everything that I developed my half guard around. Unorthodox positions and attacks, dynamic knee bars, dynamic guard sweeps volume 1. So this was butterfly guard and X guard. This was actually probably the DVD I spent the most time practicing because it tied in quite well with Marcel Garcia's X guard picture by picture book back in the day, and omoplata and the dynamic guard. So I've been a fan of Stephan's for a while, and when he started working with my instructor Rob Bernacchi on the BJJ formulas, then I actually got to meet him. Went over to his house, got to watch some film. It was pretty crazy to get to actually meet him in that kind of context. And I actually got to be in some of his videos. I didn't talk at all, but you'd see my big ugly face on a few of his videos, either where Rob was in it or even filming with Stephan. Yeah, don't copyright strike me, Stephan, for using some clips of your videos. And then I got to actually spend quite a bit of time working with him and Rob on the modern leg lock formula. I got to help Rob with developing that system, organizing the content and how to structure it. Then I sat off to the side the whole time watching as they filmed and was jumping in and out as an uke, as well as just going through the information and kind of reading through notes with Rob, making sure that he's staying on point, because it's quite stressful to have to film, say, like a 15-hour day. I think it's the first day that how much time we spent filming the modern leg lock formula, and for him to just continually retain all that knowledge and rapid fire that stuff out, and especially doing it mostly all in single takes, if not all single takes. I was just there to kind of make sure that Rob stays sharp and that he's not missing any little details or making sure that they have the right angles. So that was my first introduction into seeing what an actual proper instructional looks like versus, say, me filming with a camera and just doing these little YouTube things. Eventually, Stephan reached out to me as I've been getting better and better in front of the camera and asked if I wanted to do an instructional, and him and I, and with the help of my instructor Rob, worked out that guard retention would be an excellent fit and something that I could teach in very vast detail and feel very confident being able to teach. And so I've spent the last few months basically just trying to prepare and organize what a instructional and guard retention would look like. At this time I have about 31 pages written out of like just bullet point form, about 13,000 words. The way I wanted to structure this guard retention instructional was to be able to hopefully provide you guys with some concepts and tips on being able to think for yourselves, to be able to problem solve on the fly and figure out guard retention, but also just give you a crap ton of ways of dealing with everything. Because obviously, while I want you guys to be able to think for yourselves, one of the best ways of being able to teach that to you is by showing you examples over and over again. And so what I'm doing is working from the furthest range of guard, or like the furthest range in which we're looking at either like kind of the spider guard setup, or just when your opponent is first coming into contact with your feet, because our feet are gonna be our first available frames that we're able to use to keep our opponent back. And then basically just working through the ranges as they start to beat your feet, beat your shins, beat your knees, get to your hips and start controlling your hips heavily, but especially looking at the main passes that everybody uses at the highest level. Then what I also wanted to do is go over half guard as a guard retention device, as well as the turtle. And that's something that I haven't seen other instructionals really do. They've talked about using turtle and turning the turtle to obviously deny your opponent from solidifying your guard pass and getting points, but they don't talk too much about the turtle position itself. You don't want to spend any time there in turtle. You don't want to have somebody solidify moving in on controlling that position and then having to work from there, but using it very quickly and having some options to be able to keep yourself safe. And then half guard, because half guard is half of a guard in a way where if somebody has started to move by whatever guard you're trying to establish, and maybe you're a half guard player, but if you're not, then you're falling back to this closer range guard just out of necessity to try and clamp onto your opponent and stop them from passing. And so to be able to have some options there to be able to recover from half guard back to a guard of your choice. I'm gonna try and do some filming of the whole process, showing you guys a little bit of behind the scenes and taking you through this journey that I'm on. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you guys got any questions about this process or the instructional, then let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, let's see what happens.
So how do you want to structure this today, Rob?
And we're off.
If I keep knee-elbow connection here, with my elbow underneath my knee, it's very difficult for him to find any space to generate meaningful base, as well as being able to solidify. So as he's here, as he slides over, this creates a ramp that as Stephan completes this knee cut, he lands up at my shoulders, and he's not actually controlling the rotation of my body.
All right, so it is September 29th. This is an hour before I start meeting up with Stephan to begin the instructional. I am more stressed out right now than I have been for most of this point, because now I'm going and filming with Stephan, who's a legend. He's got a videographer on who he's paying to be there, so there's now money on the line for the mistakes that I'm making. And I haven't ever filmed more than 2 hours straight at one time. And so now we have the next 3 days booked at this point. I'm imagining something like 7.5, 8-hour days, but we'll see how the momentum's carrying. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of talking. Just went to 7-Eleven, loaded up with my water, with my Red Bulls, with my energy bars to make sure I have stuff to snack on, to try and keep my energy up and to make sure I don't lose my voice, because that's something that my usual routine of just waking up last minute, crawling out of bed, dragging myself in and doing some YouTube stuff, I find even after an hour of filming that sometimes my throat is starting to get a bit dry and sore. So yeah, got a few things that I have to adjust to and to make this work, but ready to rise to the occasion.
We're going to be talking about some of the different ranges and the different phases of guard within that, but I'm not going to be showing you guys very much for sweeps. I'm not going to be showing you guys submissions. That is not the place for this. This is defensive, trying to create a conceptual, fundamental approach to just make your guard extremely difficult to pass.
Very nice.
Nice.
Whoa.
So after about 7 hours, day one of filming the instructional is done. I have to say a lot of my fears and stresses that I talked about earlier have just relaxed at this point. Working with Stephan, working with the videographer Juan, who's filming for us, I felt so comfortable working with these guys. We're just joking around, everything's lighthearted, and I barely made any mistakes. And then when I did make mistakes, it was just a quick turnaround. Because we're editing with filming with two cameras at one time, it's easy for us to just kind of do a little jump cut, changing the angle and hide when I've made some mistakes. But I must say, I'm one-taking about 95% of all the videos. 7 hours of filming today, that's the longest I've ever had to do. My throat is sore right now, but I bought some lozenges and I'm gonna get an early night's rest here on this couch at Pacific Top Team Burnaby, thanks to Richie Yip for giving me a place to crash here so I don't have to spend money on hotels. And I'm feeling really good today, guys. We're starting to move into some of the major passes. We covered leg drags today. Got through the main things that I wanted to talk about, which was the introduction and core concepts, going through the solo movements, going through a whole bunch of different ranges of seated guard and retention movements from there, as well as looking at the first stages of a recumbent or supine guard where we're on our backs and having to engage when people are first starting to get in contact with our feet, ankles, and the cuff of our pants. But, you know, I still got 2 more days of filming, lots of time to work. Really excited to see how the rest unfolds.
There's always going to be a time in each one of these little micro battles where it no longer serves its purpose. And if you think that, oh, Rory told me to have the collar tied and that works really well, and you don't recognize when it's time to fold them and move to a different move, you're going to lose that fight. Here, I move up, I pressure, There's adjustments, I'm losing this fight, I start to get collapsed, I accelerate that motion, and I fill the space with a longer frame. This is the leading edge still. Stephan's trying to drive into me, I step over, I lift my hips, and I bring my spine into frame so that Stephan, even if I take this away and Stephan just sits on me right now, I'm able to support him off of my shoulder and my head with a strong spine so I'm in good posture. I'm not like this, I'm here. Now I can walk my legs out, arcing direction to get them back into the headlights or the safety net of my guard.
Hey guys, day 2 of filming done, another approximately 7.5 hour day. Sucking on my throat lozenges to try and calm down my throat. My voice is getting my vocal cords are getting even more sore, but really excited. We had a lot of passes to cover today. We went through a bunch of the major passes, going through the Toriando, through the knee cut, through the X pass, through the long step, through some pressure passing, smash passing stuff, a series on the collar tie, 10 videos just linking the collar tie. Really in-depth stuff that I think you guys will enjoy.
What we're trying to do is control our opponent here so much so that they're gonna have to start letting go because they just feel like they can't move and we're escaping from here. It becomes like a stalling, standstill battle here for a bit where Stephan wants to pull his head out, but if he's holding on to me, he can't pull his head out. Why would he want to? He's here. But if I can trap him up here with this box tie and hold him in place and break this becomes miserable for him. He's gonna try and wiggle out. As Stephan's trying to wiggle out, I'm holding on to him. I'm gonna hold on to him. As he's trying to, I'm escaping during that moment of opportunity.
It almost feels like a head and arm choke. Like there's a similar, you're not gonna choke me there,
No.
but it's got a similar pressure, like it's beginning to set up.
My ribs are starting to try and like block off the side of your neck here. I'm probably not gonna actually occlude the arteries down here, but especially on this side, because of how I'm bringing my knee up like this to trap this, I'm starting to scrape it along your shoulder, which is internally rotating your shoulder, bringing it into your neck in the way that it would with an arm triangle or a leg triangle. If I do this, just leaning forward, I can break his posture still, but I'm not making an environment here that is super uncomfortable for him. And he's gonna still be able to have some space to wiggle around and move. The goal here is to bring your knee up as high as you can. The shorter you are, just bring your knee up a bit higher. Because if we're able to bring our foot right up to here and have it stack our knee above our ankle, that's gonna be really strong structure and very strong base. So here, gripping the gi this time, closing the elbow, bring myself here, leaning the chest over. I'm really leaning forward. And Stephan's gonna wanna try and get out of this. As he starts moving, we start switching back to a collar tie, a reverse collar tie, falling back and framing our opponent. We're getting all these different ranges back that we had just previously lost.
And some stuff for the over-under pass, the double unders pass, and the double overs pass. The knee staple, knee over position that also can lead to the single unders, being able to deal with that. It was exhausting, but we are so close to the end now that hopefully I should be able to finish this up by noon tomorrow. We still have half guard to go over, how to use half guard to control and at least look at using it as a guard retention device to manage the range. Looking at adding a few videos for the deep half guard because that's the closest range guard, so it's kind of our last guard that we can fall back on when our opponent is getting so close to solidifying a guard pass. And then I'm going to be filming a small series on the turtle, how to hold ourselves in proper alignment and how to be able to use some fundamental movements to quickly use turtle as a transitional position to be able to keep that momentum going and get back to our backs or to a seated position to manage the range. So home stretch, guys. Got about 20 videos left. I can't wait to wrap up day 3 tomorrow.
So Rory, on my behalf and the behalf of everyone who's watching this, thank you so much. You put a tremendous amount of time and energy and research and thought into this, and I think it really shows. If somebody actually watches this and actually trains it, their guard retention is just going to go through the roof. There's zero doubt in my mind. So it's really cool to be putting this out into the world. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, Stephan. I've never done a project this size before. I tried to plan this out thoroughly and create the best system I could think of, going from these ranges of the furthest frames to the worst case scenario where someone's about to get connected to us. I had never seen a guard retention instructional presented like that before, And I wanted to try and add some other things in there, like the half guard, the deep half, and the turtle as some other ways of looking at different positions that we can use that still have a place within guard retention.
The collar tie series as well, I think, is new.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything to do much with that besides maybe the odd separate video, but not tying this stuff together very well. So I have to thank my instructor, Rob Bernacki, for obviously giving me this conceptual understanding to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's obviously why I'm able to think about Jiu-Jitsu in this kind of context. So I hope you guys like this, that you enjoyed this entire instructional. There's going to be some specific little things, some little outliers of different passes and stuff that we weren't able to cover just because of time constraints, as well as I just didn't think that it would kind of detract away from the message and the consistency that I was trying to teach this instructional in. So there's certainly the opportunity for us to do some follow-ups with YouTube videos and stuff like that to add to this. If you guys have questions of specific passes, that's something that we can touch on, absolutely.
Yeah. But Rory, we didn't cover the cartwheel pass defense.
Yeah, cartwheel pass, knee elbow connection. Real simple solutions to some of these passes that I don't really respect too much. They have their places, and if somebody makes a mistake, like timing is everything, we look at fatigue when we're looking at competitions, you're gonna see some things work that are very low percentage. And that a high level black belt, especially at something like ADCC or Nogi or Worlds, that they were able to make it fly in that moment. That doesn't mean that's something that we can replicate all the time. Where a lot of these passes, like looking at the leg drag, the Toriano, the X pass, the over-unders, the double-unders, we're seeing this stuff hit consistently at the highest level, and you're gonna be experiencing guard passers at some point trying probably all of these passes. So I hope this, guys, gives you guys the tools that you need to be able to be effective at understanding how to manage the range and guard and how to retain it, so that then you can ultimately start to become offensive and start using the maintenance phase of guard to be able to use your De La Hiva, your spider guard, your single leg X, and do so with the confidence to understand that if your opponent manages to break the control, or if that submission starts to go south for you, there's no way that guy's going to be able to pass your guard because you understand all the different ranges and how to use frames.
Yeah, so having confidence in your defensive abilities opens up the ability to be offensive, because it's not all going to go to hell if you try that one sweep and it doesn't work.
Absolutely, and as we've kind of touched upon, it's going to help your guard passing. You should be working on your guard passing at the same time, because those are the two major development areas in Jiu-Jitsu. But your guard passing, when you start to understand these different ranges and how the person on bottom should be thinking about it, you're going to be thinking about the different ways that you can win these range battles. And this is 90%, 95% of the fights that we're seeing at the highest level. Most of the match is trying to get that guard pass. And if it doesn't happen, you're either stuck in the guard the entire match, or you pass the guard and the fight usually is going to be ending from there. So yeah, guys, I hope you love this instructional. My name is Rory Van Fleet. My YouTube channel is RVVBGJ. I try and post conceptual videos a few times a week, similar to this style.
You're doing a really good job on that.
Thank you so much. I haven't been doing it as long as you, but yeah, it's been an enjoyable process. It's made me better at talking in front of the camera, which has now afforded me opportunities to get to work with a legend like Stephan Kesting, who I bought your instructionals way back in the day, so it's crazy that I've got this opportunity now in front of me. So, and being able to film 2.5 days straight, going over this stuff and confidently speak to the camera. So yeah, it's been a really enjoyable process.
Anything else you want to share? Your Instagram, your Grindr profile, your
yeah, your Grindr profile. Well, we already matched up, so that's covered now. So guys, it's been a pleasure working with Stephan. It's been a pleasure getting the opportunity to teach you guys. If you have any questions, reach out to Stephan and I hope that we can answer any of your questions going forward.
That was nice.
Very good.
Oh.
You can't hang yourself quite yet.
Yeah.
Although there is that one suspension point here. I promise it's for punching bag.
I don't know, it looks pretty tempting.
No, you got nothing. You only got something to be super proud of.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel really good about that. I feel like we optimized time really well and was able to just like rip through that, not very much for any kind of mistakes.
No, that's.
I thought I was gonna fuck up a lot more than that, but
No, I thought if it's been like 2 or 3 retakes.
That'd be normal.
No, yeah, no, it's been like.
Why don't we find out what time the ferry goes to see if we can take advantage of you being here
to make me talk even more.
Ugh.